And we'll start with Sara Greenwald of 350 Bay Area. And I'll hand off to Sara.
Hi, I'm Sara Greenwald. I'm with 350 Bay Area, which is a climate organization. And I love transit equity because, as noticed in that video, which has totally scooped me, I have nothing left to say. But transit riders are equity heroes and climate heroes. And I think we just have to keep saying that because most riders never get thanked. Most people who don't ride transit don't hardly even know they're there. They don't know they're heroes. Let me share my screen because I want to show my slides. It may take me a second here. Okay, can you see it?
Yes. Yep.
You see Rosa Parks' picture? Okay. So this is what we all say. Why climate heroes? I'm showing a picture of, on the left, and there aren't many numbers on this slide I'm showing people, but on the left, 40 commuters in a car, that is 40 cars on a crowded road, and on the right, a road with just one bus. And that's something we already know. It's all things we already know. 40 cars take up a lot more room, they cause a lot more traffic, and they let out a lot more pollution, including carbon dioxide, which is the greenhouse gas. Carbon dioxide traps the heat from sunlight, warms the air, causes global warming, causes the climate crisis. So the carbon dioxide that the cars let out so much of, that's the key to why transit riders are climate heroes. And I also have a graph here that shows in pink the amount of CO2 per passenger coming out of transit, and the transit amounts are much smaller. And in fact, it's about 2 to 1 on average, twice as much pollution, climate pollution, out of a car as out of a transit vehicle. And another thing we know is that a bus or a train is way heavier, right? So if a person gets out of the car onto the bus or the train, the transit vehicle is not going to burn a lot more fuel carrying them around, right? But the car that the person got out of and is not using anymore is not going to burn any fuel. So the savings is huge, right? If people get out of their cars onto transit. That's why transit riders are climate heroes. You're going to think I'm a broken record. So then about equity, I have a picture of a bus and it says transit is a vehicle for equity. So why do you say that? Well, transportation exhaust is poison. And I'm showing where I typed into my computer browser just auto exhaust health effects. And you could type in auto exhaust health effects your city, but something will always come up. What came up, it says respiratory symptoms and pulmonary function. So that's about breathing and the lungs. And we already know that every organ in the body needs its proper supply of air. Right? So I don't even have to list all the diseases and disorders that this traffic exhaust, car exhaust can cause. And then another piece a little lower down says children who live near a major highway are not only more likely to develop asthma, but it will last their whole lives, the damage. And also I point out children who live near a major highway. Okay. We know who lives near major highways. That's where they put the lower income communities and the communities of color. And that is why people getting out of their cars onto the bus, reducing that poisonous pollution, are equity heroes. So it says we need to prioritize the public transit system. And here's a quick 4 steps that I learned from a lot of experienced transit and other organizers. First thing is call in everybody, the unions, health groups, climate people, justice groups, community groups, faith groups, schools, your relatives, everybody. And then we all brainstorm, come up with an event and a message. So demanding more funds for transit, more equitable service, lower fares, maybe just raising awareness. The earlier you get everybody involved in planning the event, the more they feel like it's theirs and stick with it. So I can't emphasize that much, that, include everybody. And after that, you're planning a party, which is not easy. So here are a couple examples. Here in the Bay Area, there's a faith and justice group called Genesis, and they're going to put on an event celebrating welcoming riders back. Their main message, it's safe to get back on the bus. Then I have pictures of more events because, as you saw, people have just a wonderful variety of them. Here in Houston, Texas, is a picture of a press conference where they're apparently giving the official a certificate, probably says that the official is a transit hero and a climate hero. And it's a good bet particularly if you have not given many events, a press conference, because leaders and politicians need publicity. Many of them have relationships with media people to send a press release to. And they have the sound equipment, the access to good places, right? Now, you might also want to make demands, not make nice to politicians. There was a community organization here, they threw a transit equity rally and they were demanding better transit service and to resolve the inequities that made the community vulnerable to gentrification. So they did not get the spotlight in City Hall, let's just say. They went to a light rail stop at the evening commute time, and it was raining. So they set up a canopy and they set out food. And a lot of families came with their children. And the community members and leaders, they shouted through it like a handheld megaphone. And it was raining and dark, and we all bunched together, kept warm, shouting at us out. And it was a great little demonstration, bringing attention to the need for low-cost housing near the transit stations. And I have on a slide here just more pictures of marches, demonstrations, plaques. Many of you will see yourselves here. Public official on the train, I think, and demonstration of union and riders that got on TV. A great many successes here. And I have the music, because we cannot forget this. I have a picture here of a singer leading a crowd. And here I have a little tape of that singer. Her name is Bonnie Lockhart. And I'll just play you a little bit of it. I'm almost out of time anyway.
Thinking about Martin Luther King's birthday.
I'll move it ahead to where she starts singing.
As well. If you miss me at the back of the bus and you can't find me nowhere, oh, come on over to the front of the bus. I'll be riding right there. I'll be riding right there. I'll be riding right there. Oh, come on over to the front of the bus. I'll be riding right there.
See, so you can really enjoy your event. And there's more, but I wanted to check. I was going to talk about the press release that you can send. Is there time, or should I leave on that happy note? Judy?
Yeah,
Am I out of time here? Okay. Here's a different event. And the press release that was sent out for it, I just wanted to point out, it's not hard. Up in the top corner, you have very standard information that you can just replace and put in your own, then a catchy headline. And then the first sentence has their who, what, when, where, why, which is very important in the first sentence. They always love that. So it says over 24 community and labor organizations, that's who, hosted a rally in downtown San Francisco yesterday. That's where and when, and what, to demand that the MTC allocate the money. So that's the why. And then 2 paragraphs of quotes, a quote by one person and a quote by another person. And you might wonder, how did you get the quotes? Because you wrote the press release before the event, right? You just pick spokespeople, you write a quote, you check it out with them that it's okay. Maybe they'll write it themselves. And then you put it there. That's perfectly fine. And then next couple paragraphs, they describe the event a little more. And then at the end is a paragraph where they just sort of tell who is this group, the People's Transit Alliance, and they name all the groups that belong to them. That's for the reporter usually, so that they know how many groups are involved and what are these groups, and they keep an eye on them for future news items. So you see, you're building your relationships with the media by having a press release like that. Plus, when you're starting to bring in people, you can call your politician and say, "Have you got any plans for Rosa Parks Day?" And they say, "No." You say, "We got a press release. We'll send it to you. Can you speak?" You know, and even if they claim they have a press release, they don't. They might have assigned somebody to write it, but it's something that's very good for you to have, and that gives you control of the message as it reaches the media. Right? So I really recommend that. And on that note, I'll just end by saying I love this saying. Today's mighty oak is yesterday's nut that held its ground.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was a wonderful quote and lovely of all of the different examples of actions that you can do on Transit Equity Day. That was wonderful.